Welcome to our deep dive into the Millionaire Next Door.
Huh.
We're going to be unpacking some really interesting insights from Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko's research into the habits and mindsets of America's wealthy. And it looks like from your notes you're particularly keen on understanding their paths to wealth and what sets them apart. So we'll tailor this deep dive accordingly.
Yeah,
Ready to rethink what you thought you knew about millionaires?
I'm ready to have my assumptions challenged.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
So let's start with one of the biggest myths. The book debunks the idea that millionaires are all flashy spenders.
Right.
The authors found that the majority of millionaires live well below their means. They're not driving around in sports cars or living in mansions.
Yeah.
They're more likely to be driving a Toyota and living in a modest neighborhood.
That's surprising. I was pictured millionaires living a much more extravagant lifestyle.
It's a common misconception, but the reality is that most millionaires prioritize financial independence and security over outward appearances. They understand that true wealth isn't about showing off. It's about having the freedom to make choices that align with their values.
So it's more about intrinsic value than external validation.
Exactly. Remember that anecdote about the millionaire who preferred Budweiser over a glass of expensive Bordeaux?
Right.
That perfectly encapsulates this mindset.
Yeah.
It's not that they can't afford the finer things, it's that they're simply not interested in spending money on things that don't bring them genuine satisfaction.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess it's easy to get caught up in the idea that wealth equals extravagance.
The book is full of examples like that. Did you know that half of the millionaires surveyed never spent more than $399 on a suit?
Wow. That's really surprising.
This frugality isn't about being cheap, it's a strategic choice.
Okay.
They're incredibly disciplined with their finances, always looking for ways to save and invest wisely. Building on this idea of frugality, the authors introduce the concept of PAWs and UAWs, prodigious accumulators of wealth versus underaccumulators of wealth.
Okay, let's unpack these acronyms. What distinguishes a PAW from a UAW?
So a PAW is incredibly disciplined with their time, energy, and money.
Right.
They spend time planning their finances, researching investments, and making informed decisions. They're not chasing the latest trends or trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Right.
Instead, they're focused on building long-term wealth and achieving their financial goals.
So they're playing the long game, both financially and in terms of their lifestyle choices.
Exactly. They're not looking for quick wins or instant gratification.
Okay.
They're willing to delay gratification and make sacrifices today to secure their financial future.
And what about UAWs? What characterizes their approach?
UAWs often prioritize appearances and immediate gratification over long-term financial security.
Okay.
They might earn a high income, but they spend a large portion of it on maintaining a certain lifestyle.
Right.
They may be more focused on keeping up with the Joneses than building lasting wealth. The book highlights this distinction through the contrasting case studies of Dr. North PAW and Dr. South, the UAW.
Okay.
Both were doctors with similar incomes, but Dr. North accumulated far more wealth due to his disciplined approach to finances.
He was intentional with his spending and investing, while Dr. South was more focused on appearances and keeping up with his peers.
That's a powerful example of how mindset and habits can make a huge difference in building wealth, even when income levels are similar.
Yeah, for sure.
Another key takeaway from the book is the concept of economic outpatient care.
Okay.
This delves into the impact of financial gifts and inheritances on adult children.
This section really challenged my assumptions.
It's counterintuitive, right? You'd think receiving financial assistance would help someone become wealthier.
Yeah.
But the authors found that adult children who receive substantial financial help from their parents often accumulate less wealth than those who don't.
That's fascinating. Why would that be the case?
The book argues that this economic dependence can create a cycle of underachievement and a reliance on external support. Right?
It can foster a sense of entitlement and discourage them from developing their own financial independence.
Okay.
They become accustomed to a certain lifestyle without having earned it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the story the book shares about the couple who received down payment assistance for their home.
Yeah.
They ended up needing constant financial support because they became caught in a cycle of overspending, always expecting a bailout.
Right.
It's a cautionary tale about the potential downsides of financial assistance, even when well-intentioned.
So giving money to adult children might actually hinder their ability to build wealth.
The authors suggest that teaching children the value of hard work, financial responsibility, and smart decision-making is more beneficial than simply handing them money.
Mm-hmm.
It's about empowering them to create their own financial success, not making them dependent on handouts.
That's a powerful message. It's a shift in perspective from simply giving to equipping them with the tools and mindset for success.
Now let's talk about the significant role of entrepreneurship in wealth creation.
The book highlights that a large portion of millionaires are business owners.
That makes sense. Building a successful business requires discipline, financial savvy, and a long-term perspective, all qualities we've been discussing.
Exactly. But the authors are careful to point out that simply owning a business doesn't guarantee wealth.
Hmm.
It's the mindset and habits of the owner that truly matter.
So it's about being a Paul, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, or a business owner.
Precisely. And it's worth noting that the book emphasizes that most millionaires are first-generation affluent.
Okay.
They built their wealth themselves, not through inheritance.
That's inspiring. It shows that wealth is attainable for anyone who's willing to put in the work and make smart decisions.
And speaking of passing on knowledge, the book offers some valuable advice for parents who want to raise financially responsible children.
This is a topic I'm particularly interested in.
One of the most striking pieces of advice is to never tell your children that you're wealthy.
That seems counterintuitive.
The authors argue that it can create a sense of entitlement and prevent them from developing their own financial independence and motivation. Instead, they suggest focusing on instilling values of hard work, discipline, and smart financial habits. Encourage them to pursue their passions and find fulfillment in their achievements, not just material possessions.
So it's about raising children who are intrinsically motivated and value experiences over material wealth.
Exactly. And it's about teaching them the importance of financial responsibility and giving them the tools to manage their own money wisely.
Okay.
Now let's shift gears and talk about a topic that often gets associated with millionaires. Cars.
Okay.
I'm curious to know if they're all driving around in luxury vehicles.
It's a common stereotype, but the reality is more nuanced.
Okay.
The book delves into the spending habits of millionaires when it comes to cars. And it turns out they don't all fit the stereotype.
Okay.
They've identified 4 main types of millionaire car buyers.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about these different types.
So the first type is loyal to a particular dealer and buys new cars.
Okay.
This group values relationships and convenience.
Okay.
They stick with the dealer they trust and appreciate the ease of buying a new car without having to haggle over price.
So it's less about being flashy and more about efficiency and peace of mind?
Exactly. Then there are those who are dealer loyal but buy used cars.
Okay.
This group often has connections to the automotive industry, like relatives or friends who are dealers. They benefit from those relationships and get good deals on pre-owned vehicles.
Ah, so it's a bit of a networking advantage.
Precisely. The third type shops around for new cars.
Okay.
This group is all about finding the best deal no matter how long it takes. They're willing to put in the time and effort to research prices, visit multiple dealerships, and negotiate hard.
Sounds like they enjoy the thrill of the hunt.
You could say that.
Yeah.
They're the savvy shoppers of the millionaire world.
Okay.
And lastly, there are those who shop around for used cars.
Okay.
These are the ultimate bargain hunters. They're incredibly patient and resourceful, scouring classified ads, checking online listings, and often buying from private sellers to get the lowest possible price.
They're the masters of frugality, even when it comes to big purchases like cars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're living proof that you don't have to spend a fortune on a car to be wealthy.
All this talk about cars is making me wonder about houses. Do millionaires always live in mansions?
Not necessarily. In fact, the book argues that living in a less expensive area can actually make it easier to accumulate wealth.
Really? How so?
Well, for one thing, property taxes and other housing costs are generally lower in less affluent areas.
Oh, makes sense.
But there's another more subtle advantage.
Okay.
Living in a less expensive area can help you avoid the trap of keeping up with the Joneses.
You mean the pressure to spend more just because your neighbors are spending more?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The book gives an example of a doctor who lives in a modest home in a middle-class neighborhood.
Okay.
His neighbors are teachers, civil servants, and other professionals.
So his lifestyle is aligned with his surroundings, even though he could afford to live much more lavishly.
Precisely. And that's a key part of the millionaire mindset.
Okay.
It's not about impressing others with your spending. It's about living below your means and investing wisely.
It's about aligning your spending with your values, not with the perceived expectations of others.
Exactly. And this ties back to another crucial element of the PAW mindset, the importance of planning and time management.
How do millionaires approach these things differently?
Well, PAWs dedicate more time to planning their financial future than UAWs.
Okay.
They're more likely to have budgets track their expenses and create long-term financial plans.
So they're not just winging it when it comes to their finances.
Definitely not. They have systems in place to monitor their cash flow, allocate funds to different categories, and ensure they're staying on track with their financial goals.
It sounds like they're treating their personal finances like a business.
In many ways, they are. And this disciplined approach extends to their time management as well. Well, they're often very efficient with their time.
Okay.
They prioritize tasks, delegate when possible, and avoid wasting time on activities that don't contribute to their goals.
So they're intentional with their time, just like they're intentional with their money.
Exactly. And this intentionality is reflected in their careers as well.
What do you mean?
Well, the book discusses how successful business owners, the kind who become millionaires, view self-employment differently than most people do.
How so?
They see it as less risky than working for someone else.
Really? That seems counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Most people would say starting a business is much riskier than having a stable job.
That's the conventional wisdom, but the book challenges that notion.
So how do these millionaire entrepreneurs see it differently?
They argue that having multiple sources of income, which is often the case with business owners, is actually less risky than relying on a single paycheck from an employer.
Interesting. So it's about diversifying your income streams and having more control over your financial destiny.
Exactly. They're not putting all their eggs in one basket. They're creating multiple streams of income, which provides a safety net if one source dries up.
It's a proactive approach to managing risk and ensuring financial stability.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this all ties back to the theme of independence that we've been talking about.
Okay.
Financial independence is a core value for most millionaires.
And that independence extends beyond just finances, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about having the freedom to make choices that align with your values and priorities.
Okay.
Whether that's choosing where to live, how to spend your time, or what kind of work you do.
It's about living life on your own terms.
Precisely. And that's a powerful aspiration that many millionaires strive for.
This is all so fascinating, but I'm curious to know more about the specific choices and strategies that millionaires use to build their wealth.
Okay.
Let's delve into their approach to investing, which often differs from traditional advice.
Oh, but
What do they do differently?
Well, they often invest in areas where they have expertise or knowledge. They might have a deep understanding of a particular industry or market, or they might have access to information that others don't.
So they're not just relying on financial advisors or investment gurus, they're using their own insights and experience to make informed decisions.
Exactly. And they're also often more cautious and patient with their investments,
Okay.
focusing on long-term growth rather than quick profits.
So they're not chasing the latest hot stock tip or trying to time the market.
Nope. They're in it for the long haul,
Mm.
and they understand that slow and steady wins the race when it comes to building wealth.
Okay.
They're also not afraid to go against conventional wisdom or challenge the status quo.
Mm-hmm.
They're independent thinkers who are willing to do their own research and make decisions based on their own analysis, even if it goes against the grain.
That takes confidence.
It does. And that confidence is often rooted in their knowledge and their ability to assess risk effectively.
So they're not just blindly following the crowd, they're making informed decisions based on their own understanding of the market.
Exactly. And this leads to another interesting point. Millionaires don't always rely on traditional investment advice.
Really? What do they do instead?
Well, they often invest in areas where they have expertise or knowledge.
Okay.
They might have built a business in a particular industry
Mm.
and have a deep understanding of the market.
It makes sense. If you understand an industry, you're more likely to make smart investment decisions.
Precisely. And they also tend to be more cautious and patient with their investments, focusing on long-term growth rather than quick profits.
So they're not chasing the latest hot stock tip or trying to time the market.
Nope. They're in it for the long haul, and they understand that slow and steady wins the race when it comes to building wealth.
Okay.
And they're not afraid to go against conventional wisdom or challenge the status quo.
Okay.
They're independent thinkers who are willing to do their own research and make decisions based on their own analysis, even if it goes against the grain.
That takes confidence.
It does. And that confidence is often rooted in their knowledge and their ability to assess risk effectively.
So they're not just blindly following the crowd. They're making informed decisions based on their own understanding of the market.
Exactly.
This all sounds great, but I have to ask, are there any downsides to living this frugal, disciplined lifestyle? Do millionaires ever miss out on the fun stuff?
That's a great question. And the book actually addresses this head on.
So what's the verdict? Do millionaires ever let loose and splurge?
Well, it's not about deprivation. It's about making conscious choices and finding joy in things that truly matter.
So it's not about denying yourself pleasure, it's about aligning your spending with your values.
Exactly. And many millionaires find immense satisfaction in knowing they're financially secure and free from the burdens of debt and financial worry.
That makes sense. There's a certain peace of mind that comes with knowing you're in control of your finances.
Absolutely. And that peace of mind allows them to focus on things that bring them genuine joy and fulfillment,
Oh.
whether that's spending time with family, pursuing their passions, or giving back to their communities.
So it's not about sacrificing happiness for wealth. It's about using wealth as a tool to create a life that is both fulfilling and financially secure.
Precisely.
All this talk about millionaires is making me wonder, how many millionaires are there in America anyway? And are their numbers growing?
The book provides some interesting insights into these trends.
So tell me, is the millionaire population booming?
It is. The book predicts significant growth in the number of millionaire households in the coming years.
Wow, that's exciting.
It is. And this growth has some interesting implications for various industries and professions.
Like, what kind of businesses are likely to benefit from this surge in millionaire households?
Well, think about the needs and wants of affluent individuals.
Okay.
They're more likely to invest in things like luxury goods and services, healthcare education, and financial planning.
So we're talking about a ripple effect across the economy, not just a concentration of wealth in a few hands.
Exactly. As more people achieve financial success, it creates opportunities for businesses that cater to their needs and aspirations.
This reminds me of another topic we touched on earlier, the role of inheritance in wealth creation.
Right.
With all these millionaires passing on their fortunes, are we going to see a new generation of inheritors?
That's an important question. And the book delves into the complexities of wealth transfer between generations.
So what's the bottom line? Are inheritances becoming more common?
They are, and the book predicts a significant increase in the amount of wealth being passed down to heirs in the coming years.
That raises all sorts of questions about the future of wealth inequality and social mobility.
It does,
Yeah.
and it's a topic we could explore in more depth.
We definitely should. But for now, let's shift gears and talk a bit more about the specific strategies that millionaires use to manage their wealth.
Sounds good.
One of the things that surprised me in the book was the discussion about taxes.
Okay.
Seems like millionaires are really savvy about minimizing their tax burden.
They are. And the book highlights a key principle: the distinction between realized and unrealized income.
Okay, refresh my memory. What's the difference again?
Realized income is the money you actually receive and pay taxes on,
Right.
like your salary or wages. Unrealized income is the appreciation of your assets,
Oh, okay.
like stocks or real estate that haven't been sold yet.
So millionaires try to minimize their realized income to reduce their tax liability.
Exactly. They focus on growing their wealth through investments that appreciate in value without generating a taxable cash flow.
Smart. It's like playing a long game with the tax man.
You could say that.
So besides minimizing taxes, what are some other strategies that millionaires use to manage their wealth?
Well, they tend to be very disciplined about budgeting and tracking their expenses.
So they're not just winging it when it comes to their finances.
Definitely not.
Hmm.
They have systems in place to monitor their cash flow,
Yeah.
allocate funds to different categories, and ensure they're staying on track with their financial goals.
It sounds like a lot of work.
It can be, but it's essential for building and maintaining wealth.
This all makes me wonder, are there any specific tools or resources that millionaires use to stay organized and on top of their finances?
Well, the book doesn't go into specific software or apps, but it does emphasize the importance of working with qualified professionals.
Like financial advisors and accountants?
Exactly. Millionaires understand the value of seeking expert advice and guidance when it comes to managing their wealth.
So it's not just about doing it yourself, it's about building a team of trusted advisors.
Precisely. And this is especially important as their wealth grows and their financial situation becomes more complex.
This all makes perfect sense, but I have to ask, do millionaires ever make mistakes?
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Everyone makes mistakes, regardless of their wealth.
So they're not infallible financial geniuses?
Nope, they're human, just like the rest of us.
So what kind of financial blunders do millionaires tend to make?
Well, one common pitfall is emotional investing.
Okay.
They might get caught up in the hype of a particular stock or investment and make impulsive decisions without doing their due diligence.
So they're not immune to the fear and greed that drive market swings.
Not at all.
What about other mistakes? Do they ever fall prey to scams or bad advice?
Unfortunately, yes. They might trust the wrong people or get lured into investment schemes that promise unrealistic returns.
So it's important for them to be just as vigilant as anyone else when it comes to protecting their wealth.
Absolutely.
This all brings up another important question. How do millionaires protect their assets? Do they have any special strategies for safeguarding their wealth?
Well, they often use a variety of legal and financial tools to protect their assets from creditors, lawsuits, and other potential threats.
Like what?
Things like trusts, limited liability companies, and asset protection insurance.
Sounds complicated.
It can be. But for those with significant wealth, it's essential to have a solid asset protection plan in place.
This reminds me of another theme that runs through the book, the importance of family and legacy.
Yes, millionaires often think carefully about how their wealth will be passed down to future generations.
So it's not just about accumulating money, it's about creating a lasting impact.
Exactly.
And speaking of legacy, I'm curious to know more about the philanthropic habits of millionaires.
Well, many millionaires are incredibly generous and support a wide range of causes.
So they're not just hoarding their wealth.
Definitely not. They often give back to their communities and support organizations that align with their values.
What kind of charities do they typically favor?
It varies widely, but education, healthcare, and the arts are popular choices.
Makes sense. Those are areas that can have a significant impact on society.
Absolutely.
So besides philanthropy, what are some other ways that millionaires think about their legacy?
Well, they often want to leave a positive mark on the world,
Okay.
whether that's through their business ventures, their contributions to their communities, or the values they instill in their children.
So it's about more than just money. It's about making a meaningful contribution to the world.
Precisely.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. Millionaires aren't just focused on themselves. They're often driven by a sense of purpose and a desire to make a difference.
You're absolutely right. And this brings us to another important aspect of the millionaire mindset, the importance of relationships.
Oh, how so?
Well, the book emphasizes that millionaires often have strong networks of friends, family, and colleagues who support them in their endeavors.
So it's not just about individual achievement. It's about having a supportive community.
Exactly. And these relationships can be invaluable sources of advice, encouragement, and even business opportunities.
So millionaires aren't just lone wolves operating in isolation.
Definitely not. They understand the power of collaboration and building strong connections.
This reminds me of another theme we touched on earlier, the importance of mentors and role models.
Ah, yes. Millionaires often have mentors who guide them along their journey to wealth and success.
So it's not just about innate talent or luck. It's about learning from those who have gone before you.
Precisely. And the book highlights how these mentor relationships can be incredibly beneficial for both parties involved.
So it's a two-way street, not just a one-sided transfer of knowledge.
Absolutely.
All this talk about mentors and role models makes me wonder, are there any specific traits or qualities that millionaires look for in their advisors and mentors?
Well, they value things like integrity, experience, and a track record of success.
So they're not just looking for someone who's charismatic or well-connected. They want someone who's actually competent and trustworthy.
Exactly. And they also look for mentors who share their values and understand their goals.
So it's about finding someone who's a good fit both personally and professionally.
Precisely.
This all makes perfect sense, but I have to ask, is there a downside to having mentors? Can they ever become a crutch or an obstacle to independence?
That's a great question. And the book actually addresses this concern.
So what's the verdict? Can mentors sometimes hinder your growth?
Well, it's all about finding a balance between seeking guidance and developing your own judgment and decision-making abilities.
So you don't want to become overly reliant on your mentor's advice.
Exactly. It's about using their insights to inform your own choices and eventually become self-sufficient.
So it's like learning to ride a bike with training wheels. Eventually, you need to take them off and ride on your own.
Perfect analogy.
All this talk about mentors and relationships makes me wonder, do millionaires have any secrets for building strong connections and fostering meaningful relationships?
Well, they tend to be genuine, approachable, and interested in others.
Okay.
They value authenticity and building trust.
So it's not about schmoozing or networking for personal gain. It's about cultivating genuine connections.
Yeah, exactly. And they also understand the importance of reciprocity and giving back to those who've helped them along the way.
So it's a two-way street, not just a one-sided exchange of favors.
Absolutely.
All this talk about relationships makes me wonder, do millionaires ever get lonely at the top? Do they ever struggle to maintain meaningful connections amidst their busy lives?
It's an interesting question. And while the book doesn't delve into the psychological complexities of wealth,
Okay.
it does touch upon the challenges of balancing personal and professional life.
So what's the key to finding that balance?
Well, millionaires often prioritize their families and close relationships, even amidst their demanding schedules.
So it's about making time for the people who matter most.
Exactly. And they also tend to be very intentional about how they spend their time and energy,
Okay.
ensuring that they're not sacrificing their personal lives for the sake of financial gain.
So it's about finding a rhythm that works for them and allows them to pursue both their financial and personal goals.
Precisely.
This all makes me wonder, are there any common misconceptions about the social lives of millionaires?
Well, one myth is that they're all jet-setting around the world, attending lavish parties and hobnobbing with celebrities.
So it's not all champagne and caviar.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Many millionaires actually prefer a more low-key lifestyle,
Okay.
spending time with family and friends, pursuing their hobbies, and contributing to their communities.
So they're not all living in a bubble of extravagance.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
They have diverse interests and lead fulfilling lives that extend beyond just their financial status.
This reminds me of another question I've always had. Do millionaires ever get bored? Do they ever reach a point where they've achieved all their financial goals and don't know what to do next?
That's an intriguing question. And the book doesn't provide a definitive answer, but it does suggest that many millionaires find continued purpose and fulfillment in their work,
Oh,
their relationships,
yeah.
and their contributions to society.
So it's not just about accumulating wealth, it's about finding meaning and purpose in life.
Exactly.
This all makes me think about the role of passion and purpose in wealth creation.
Ah, yes. The book touches upon this indirectly.
So how does passion play into the equation?
Well, many millionaires are driven by a deep passion for their work or their business ventures.
Okay.
They're not just in it for the money. They genuinely enjoy what they do.
So it's not just about grinding away, it's about finding something you're truly passionate about.
Exactly. And this passion often translates into success, both financially and personally.
So it's not just about working hard, it's about working smart and finding something that ignites your fire.
Precisely.
This all makes me think about the role of luck in wealth creation.
Okay.
Do millionaires ever attribute their success to just being in the right place at the right time?
Well, the book doesn't delve deeply into the philosophical debate about luck versus skill, but it does acknowledge that circumstances and opportunities can play a role in financial success.
So they're not denying the role of chance.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
They recognize that sometimes things just fall into place.
But they also emphasize the importance of hard work preparation and seizing opportunities when they arise.
Absolutely.
This all makes me wonder, do millionaires have any secrets for attracting good luck or creating their own opportunities?
Well, they tend to be proactive, resourceful, and open to new experiences.
Okay.
They're not afraid to take risks or step outside their comfort zones.
So they're not just sitting around waiting for good things to happen. They're actively creating their own luck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they also understand the importance of networking and building relationships that can open doors to new opportunities.
So it's not just about individual effort. It's about leveraging your connections and expanding your circle of influence. This all makes me wonder, do millionaires ever experience bad luck? Do they ever face setbacks or challenges that threaten their financial security?
Of course they do. Everyone faces adversity at some point in their lives, regardless of their wealth.
So they're not immune to the ups and downs of life.
Definitely not.
So how do they cope with setbacks and overcome obstacles?
Well, they tend to be resilient, adaptable, and persistent.
Okay.
They don't let setbacks derail their long-term goals.
So they have a growth mindset and view challenges as opportunities for learning and growth.
Absolutely.
This reminds me of another theme we've been discussing, the importance of mindset and beliefs in wealth creation.
Ah, yes. The book touches upon this indirectly.
So how do millionaires view the world differently? What kind of beliefs do they hold that contribute to their financial success?
Well, they often have a positive outlook, believe in their abilities, and focus on solutions rather than problems.
So they're not dwelling on negativity or limitations.
Definitely not. They're constantly seeking opportunities for improvement and growth.
So they have an abundance mentality, believing that there's enough for everyone to succeed.
Precisely.
This all makes me think about the role of self-confidence in wealth creation.
Yeah.
Do millionaires have any secrets for boosting their self-esteem and believing in their abilities?
Well, they tend to focus on their strengths, celebrate their accomplishments, and learn from their mistakes.
So they're not letting self-doubt or negativity hold them back.
Definitely not.
So how do they cultivate this unwavering self-belief?
They often set challenging goals, push themselves outside their comfort zones, and surround themselves with supportive people who believe in them.
So it's about creating an environment that fosters growth and encourages them to reach their full potential.
Exactly.
This all makes me wonder, do millionaires ever experience self-doubt? Do they ever question their abilities or worry about failing?
Of course they do.
Mm.
Everyone experiences moments of self-doubt regardless of their accomplishments.
So they're not immune to the human experience of insecurity.
Definitely not.
So how do they overcome these moments of doubt and regain their confidence?
Well, they tend to have strong coping mechanisms, rely on their support systems, and remind themselves of their past successes.
So they have strategies in place to navigate the emotional ups and downs of life and stay focused on their goals.
Absolutely.
This all makes me think about the role of resilience and perseverance in wealth creation.
Okay.
Do millionaires ever give up on their dreams?
Well, the book doesn't explicitly address this, but it does imply that most millionaires have faced their share of challenges and setbacks along the way.
So they're not just overnight successes.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
They've likely had to overcome obstacles, learn from their mistakes, and adapt to changing circumstances.
So they've developed grit and determination over time.
Absolutely.
This all makes me think about the importance of failure in the journey to success.
Okay.
Do millionaires ever embrace failure as a learning opportunity?
Well, the book doesn't explicitly say this, but it does suggest that millionaires are often willing to take risks and learn from their experiences, both positive and negative.
So they're not afraid to make mistakes or step outside their
Comfort zones.
Exactly. They understand that failure is often a necessary part of the learning process.
Yeah.
So they're not letting the fear of failure paralyze them.
Really not.
This all makes me wonder, do millionaires have any secrets for bouncing back from failure and using setbacks as fuel for future success?
Well, they tend to have a positive outlook, focus on solutions rather than problems, and surround themselves with supportive people who believe in them.
So they're not dwelling on negativity or letting setbacks define them.
Exactly. They're using their experiences, both positive and negative, to become stronger and more resilient.
So they're not just surviving challenges,
Yeah.
they're thriving in the face of adversity.
Precisely.
This all makes me think about the importance of having a strong support system in wealth creation. The book mentions that millionaires often have close relationships with family, friends, and advisors who provide encouragement and guidance.
Absolutely. They understand that they don't have to go it alone,
Yeah.
and they surround themselves with people who believe in them and support their vision.
So they're not letting their success isolate them or prevent them from building meaningful connections.
Definitely not. They're nurturing their relationships, seeking out mentors, and building strong networks of support.
This all makes me wonder, do millionaires have any secrets for building strong relationships or finding mentors who can help them to achieve their goals?
Well, they often attend industry events, engage in their communities, and reach out to people they admire.
Okay.
They're proactive about building relationships and seeking out guidance from those they respect.
So they're not just passively waiting for opportunities to come to them.
Right.
They're actively creating their own luck.
Exactly.
This all makes me think about the importance of being intentional and proactive in wealth creation. The book emphasizes that millionaires often have a clear vision for their future and a plan for achieving their goals.
You're absolutely right. They're not just drifting through life.
Okay.
They're setting goals, making plans, and taking action to achieve their dreams.
Exactly. And they're also constantly evaluating their progress, making adjustments as needed, and staying focused on their long-term objectives. So they're not just setting it and forgetting it. They're
Yeah.
actively managing their lives and their finances.
Precisely. And they're also not afraid to ask for help or seek advice from others when they need it.
So they're not letting their ego or their pride get in the way of seeking guidance or support.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
They understand that everyone has blind spots.
Yeah.
And they're willing to learn from those who have more experience or expertise in certain areas.
This all makes me think about the importance of humility and a willingness to learn from others in wealth creation. The book highlights that many millionaires are quite humble and down to earth despite their financial success.
You're absolutely right. They don't let their wealth define them or inflate their egos.
Right.
They recognize that they've been fortunate and that their success is often due, in part, to factors beyond their control.
So they're not arrogant or boastful about their wealth.
Definitely not. They're often quite grateful for what they have and generous with their time and resources.
This all makes me wonder, do millionaires have any secrets for staying humble or avoiding the pitfalls of wealth and success?
Well, they often focus on their values, their relationships, and their contributions to society rather than just their net worth.
Okay.
They also surround themselves with people who keep them grounded and hold them accountable.
So they're creating an environment that fosters humility and gratitude rather than arrogance and entitlement.
Precisely.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive into the millionaire next door. It's clear that building wealth is about much more than just luck or inheritance. It's about making conscious choices, cultivating good habits, and adopting a mindset that prioritizes financial independence and long-term growth.
I couldn't agree more.
Mhm.
This book offers a blueprint for building wealth that anyone can follow, regardless of their income level or background.
It's a powerful reminder that true wealth is about more than just money.
Right.
It's about living a fulfilling life, pursuing your passions, and making a positive impact on the world.
Exactly. And one final thought to leave you with.
Okay.
The authors argue that one of the biggest obstacles to wealth creation is the fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you do differently if you knew you couldn't fail? What bold steps would you take to achieve your financial dreams?
Yeah.
That's something to ponder as you continue your own journey to financial independence.
That's a great question to leave our listeners with. We hope this deep dive has sparked some inspiration and provided some valuable insights. Thanks for joining us.
You're absolutely right. They're not just drifting through life.
Right.
They're setting goals, making plans, and taking action to achieve their dreams.
Exactly. And they're constantly evaluating their progress, making adjustments as needed, and staying focused on their long-term objectives. So they're not just setting it and forgetting it.
Right.
They're actively managing their lives and their finances.
Precisely. And they're also not afraid to ask for help or seek advice from others when they need it.
So they're not letting their ego or their pride get in the way of seeking guidance or support.
Definitely not. They understand that everyone has blind spots, and they're willing to learn from those who have more experience or expertise in certain areas.
This all makes me think about the importance of humility and a willingness to learn from others in wealth creation. The book highlights that many millionaires are quite humble and down to earth despite their financial success.
You're absolutely right. They don't let their wealth define them or inflate their egos.
Right.
They recognize that they've been fortunate and that their success is often due in part to factors beyond their control.
So they're not arrogant or boastful about their wealth.
Definitely not. They're often quite grateful for what they have and generous with their time and resources.
This all makes me wonder, do millionaires have any secrets for staying humble or avoiding the pitfalls of wealth and success?
Well, they often focus on their values, their relationships, and their contributions to society rather than just their net worth.
Okay.
They also surround themselves with people who keep them grounded and hold them accountable.
So they're creating an environment that fosters humility and gratitude rather than arrogance and entitlement.
Precisely.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive into the millionaire next door. It's clear that building wealth is about much more than just luck or inheritance. It's about making conscious choices, cultivating good habits, and adopting a mindset that prioritizes financial independence and long-term growth.
I couldn't agree more. This book offers a blueprint for building wealth that anyone can follow regardless of their income level or background.
It's a powerful reminder that true wealth is about more than just money. It's about living a fulfilling life, pursuing your passions, and making a positive impact on the world.
Exactly. And one final thought to leave you with. The authors argue that one of the biggest obstacles to wealth creation is the fear of failure. So what would you do differently if you knew you couldn't fail? What bold steps would you take to achieve your financial dreams? That's something to ponder as you continue your own journey to financial independence.
That's a great question to leave our listeners with. We hope this deep dive has sparked some inspiration and provided some valuable insights. Thanks for joining us.